and thanks for attending our first Apex World on Air show. Thanks to ODTUG for making this possible. It's always very easy to deal with you, and every time I'm asking for something, can we do a live webinar with people? I always get sure, and can we record that and put it on YouTube after that? Sure. It's so easy to deal with you. Thank you very much, ODTUG, for hosting that, and Melissa for doing that. And this is always fun working with you. Let me introduce you. Should I really introduce the panelists? Really shouldn't do that, but on the left we have Scott Spendolini, former product manager. We have Martin D'Souza, my co-host, and also in the podcast. Then we have Joe Kallman, the product manager of Apex. And we have Dan, the Professor McGhan, who knows everything about everything.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, but that's true. Let me tell you what this is all about. What are we planning? We are planning to do this on a regular basis. I don't say we want to do this on a monthly basis, but on a regular basis. So we try to find that we have a common date. We always try to do it on 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Saving Time now, which is New York time, and we hope we get most of the world attendees in this time. We also plan to have guests for different topics and talking about different topics. We want to do product reviews. If you like to get your product reviewed, just let us know. We can invite you and give us a little bit time that we can test it for ourselves. But we are honest, right? We really say our own opinion. It's not a marketing show. So, if you want to get your product reviewed, let us know. Another thing is we want to tell you news about Apex. Everybody has to tell something about Apex news. From my side, mostly it's Apex World. Joel, of course, from the development side. And we really engage you to discuss with us, so you can put all your questions or your whatever you want to say, or when you want to contribute to a discussion, put it in the chat. And Martin and me, we try to scan that and bring them up whenever it's possible. And we also want to have a Q&A session at the end. But we don't really want to get into technical questions like, oh, I have an ORDS installed 3.02 and Apex 5.01, and when I change to universal theme from my old theme, I get a JavaScript error, something like that. We will lose 99% of the people. So we use common sense what kind of questions are interesting for everybody of us. I think we get a lot of other questions that everybody is interested in. And the whole thing should be more like a Apex family gathering, something like a family council. So we just want to have fun, talk about different subjects. Please participate. And yeah, let us know what you want to have on the show. We try to get it on every month, but we will see. Maybe it's 6 weeks, and maybe, yeah, but we try a monthly schedule. Let me introduce myself for the first time and the last time. I do Apex for more than 10 years now on different projects. Some people know me about the stickers. I sending all the stickers, and I do the podcast together with Martin as my co-host, and I'm the founder of Apex World, which I'll show you more in a minute. And yeah, I'm hosting this show. It's part of Apex World, called Apex World on Air, and we will do more live interviews on different conferences, and this is, yeah, and my role is more, I'm not one of the foremost Apex expert in the world. I know that I'm just playing the layman's advocate, just like I do it in the podcast, and we have enough technical experience here on the panel. So I'm playing the layman's guy, and I don't have to force that too much. Actually, yeah. Yeah. Before we start with APEX World, what's new in APEX World, I want to give you a little poll because we are interested in how are you using APEX World. Melissa, can you show it?
Yes,
because we want to know, are you know APEX World right now? Are you a registered user, and are you using it regularly? This would be interesting for us. If you are, because if you are registered, we are planning to do a newsletter, and then you get the newsletter, and you get some other things where you only can vote as a registered user and stuff like that. Okay. Interesting. I see the live. 80% have voted. Great. 81%. Ooh, nice. Thank you. Oh, we have 31% who don't know APEX World. Where have you guys hiding? Interesting. That's an interesting thing because I think it's our main problem, that we have a very, very vibrant and strong community, but not so many people really know about that community and what's going on in the community. And APEX World is one approach to change that. But I see, as we have 32% who don't know about APEX World. Interesting. So there's still something to do. Thank you. Poll is closed. Then let me show, what is APEX World? APEX World is a web page where all the APEX topics are gathered together. So you see, do you see my screen? Do you see my screen?
Yeah, we're seeing your screen.
Thank you. So for the 32% who don't know APEX World, here we have the homepage. You see what we have on Slack. Slack is a communicator. We integrated it with APEX World. We have created news. So I go through all the news, what's going on APEX World, and I post them there. So the point is, if you're not onto Twitter, where so much news is posted, you can always come back once in a week, for example, and see what was really interesting in APEX World. And we have the tweets now. Once we showed everything which was posted with the hashtag APEX World, also APEX World, which is our official hashtag from APEX, and everything which was posted by also APEX World, which is our hashtag. But then we had a little porn gate a couple of weeks ago, where people misused the hashtag also APEX, no, not APEX World, just also APEX, and they really used original tweets and posted porn pictures. So therefore, we decided now we have to retweet manually everything which is relevant for APEX. It's a little bit more work, but on the other hand, now it's safe. Yeah? Now it's safe. You can have this dashboard open all the time, 24/7, which was not before. Then we have a beginner sections, and let me go to where you can. One interesting thing we have already here is how to start as a developer. It's an article I wrote. What's new is jobs and trainings. You can look for jobs. And now what is pretty new is trainings. Let me click on that. And we already have a lot of trainings out there. So you can see where is the next training happening. We have webinars, we have on-site classes, and we have recorded videos. It's brand new. It's on for a couple of hours just. So I'm sure there's more to come, and we have a lot of jobs offerings. So if you're looking for jobs, or if you're a freelancer, you can also report your free time. Here we have a lot of jobs. Then we have meetings, conferences, meetups, and another plugin is very, very famous. We have a lot of plugins, but only hosted on GitHub. So very professional plugins. And here is a new feature Daniel did the other day for us. And now you can be in the plugin details and browse in the details from one plugin to another plugin. Another thing which was new was we have now YouTube videos. We have a YouTube channel with different playlists. We have a podcast, fan shop, and we have Member of the Month. So we started this year with the Member of the Month. We just look, here we go. We look who did the most interesting contribution for the last month, and yeah, he gets nominated as Member of the Month, and at the end of the year he will or she will win a prize. So this is more or less what we have in Apex World and what's new in Apex World. We also plan to have newsletter coming out. We plan, and Christina Moore is helping us there. We still try to figure out how we get this done via MailChimp and stuff like that. And we want to integrate the forum much better on the front page. And we also still looking for help if you want to contribute. We already have a big team. We have a very good team, like Michael Dürbeck is working as a developer, Daniel Hochleitner, Adrian Ping, and the Godfather, Dan, is controlling everything what we are doing. So, yeah, that's true. And so we already have a good team and good programmers, but we're also looking for people who maybe help us out for something like the presentation resources. This is something where we plan to gather all, not all. Apex World is always about filtering. We always want to filter all the news and all the stuff to really relevant stuff and high quality stuff. Like in the plugins, we only show plugins hosted professionally on GitHub, and same goes for this presentation resources. So we look for presentations that are out there and that people who did these presentations once or twice on different conferences. It's very valuable content, and we want to give them the opportunity to show them there, and that other people, for example, we have a lot of meetups, more than 30 meetups around the world, that they can contact them and ask them if they can do a live webinar on a Apex meetup, and also for a project meeting if I'm trying to implement something special in a project, mobile, something like that, and then I can see, oh, who is an expert in mobile development, and I can ask this guy if he can do this live presentation for a project, for example. So if you like to contribute, just let us know. This is all from my side, and then I would like to pass to Martin.
All right, we're just going to do the introductions?
Yeah.
Okay, so my name's Martin D'Souza. I'm with ODTUG, VP at ODTUG, and also Senior Consultant at INSOM. I'll just keep this really brief on my intro. Let me just see, I'm trying to share my screen. Can you guys see the PowerPoints?
Yeah, yep. I do.
Perfect. Yeah, so I just want to do a quick introduction with ODTUG. I guess most of you already know what ODTUG is, given that you signed up on the webinar, but we also do host a very large conference each year called Kscope, and this year it's Kscope 16, and it's going to be in Chicago from June 26th to 30th. So if you haven't registered or you want more information, check out kscope16.com, and I think everyone on this webinar, Apex on Air, will be there. So that's it for my introduction.
Scott?
Hi, my name is Scott Spendolini. I'm president founder of Summer Technologies, just outside of DC here in lovely rainy Virginia today. Kind of excited. I actually have a formal degree, full-on bachelor's degree in television management and production. Very few people know that. From Syracuse University, largely known as one of the best communication schools in the world, who also, again, if you haven't watched the bracket show yesterday, somehow got a 10 seed in a tournament. I'm not going to look that gift horse in the mouth. I'm excited about this for lots of reasons. One, I can use a little of my TV skills. When Juergen asked me to do this, I sent him a treatment, and he looked at me like, whoa, what's this? This is the abbreviated version, right? I actually wrote up more. But we want to get a solid format going. You know, we want this to be something that you know what you're going to get out of it. There's going to be some pretty good content. There's going to be product reviews, as you mentioned. There's going to be interaction between the 4 or 5 of us on the panel, as well as the guest or guests that we bring on. So yeah, obviously we're open to ideas. This is all brand new, uncharted territory for a lot of us. The last TV show I produced for my senior project was about how the internet is this brand new thing, and it's going to change the way we do business. Things have changed since then, but really the format of these shows hasn't, and that's hopefully what I'm going to help bring to this, is just making sure that these are really interesting to watch and people really get a lot out of them.
Thank you. Joe, do you want to follow? Joe?
Sure, I never knew Scott had a degree in television. That's fascinating.
TV and VCR repair is what my friends would all.
Have you read what he sent? It was really intimidating. Oh my goodness.
So Melissa, I don't need the presenter yet, at least I don't think so. So my name's Joel Kallman. I work at Oracle, and Apex is something that my boss, Mike Hitchell, and I started in 1999, and we've been fostering this framework and this community since that time, and it's really just a pleasure to see it blossom into something like this. My perspective for this TV show or this format is this might sound corny to say, but it isn't about the people you see here, right? These 5 people. It's really about this being a gathering place for this emerging and passionate global community. This is the way I see it. I look forward to the growth, right? I see 121 attendees today, and we have to start somewhere. Honestly, I'd love to see it be 500 in a year's time, which I think is great. And so I view this as really just a central point that is a little more personal than some blog post for all of the community to come together. So I applaud Juergen and others for this inspiration. Thanks.
Wow. Professor. How are you?
I feel so unprepared now after Joel. So my name is Dan McGhan, long-term Apex user, educator, consultant. Used to work with skill builders. It's cool to see them now using that new feature for the trainings. That was cool. Now I work with Oracle, and my focus has switched though. I'm not so much in the Apex space now, although I do still play there and like to get content out on Apex, as I think it's still one of the best tools out there for application development. But now I focus more on JavaScript and how it's used to create applications that work with Oracle database. So a little shift on that, but I think it's still relevant within the Apex space, because of course we use JavaScript in Apex. So the more you know in JavaScript in general, the better it helps you with Apex apps as well.
Actually, we have a comment from Shrafan Kumar, hope I pronounced that right, and he would love to see new JavaScript frameworks and integrations with Apex, so you're on the right channel. This is the right guy. Dan is knowing everything about JavaScript, not only JavaScript. He knows everything about everything. I thought I'm pretty good.
I don't even know what I want for lunch today, so let's just stop it there.
Yeah, that's the right person to ask. Okay, guys, what do we have in the panel? Apex 5.1 chat charts. Will they be downloadable to PDF? I think this goes to Joel.
Great question. I don't think so, unless there's actual native support for this. But I think if you just even look at the jet charts today, and I think people are comparing this to functionality that they see with any chart and their Flash component. They supported a menu option to export it to PDF. I don't think so. So out of the box, if JetShorts doesn't provide it, and I can't believe they do, then we won't have it natively either.
Okay. Another question from Doc Gold. He asking, where is the section for the books? Actually,
hold on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
But it should be possible, right? Like, so in Node, we can use a headless browser to generate a web page programmatically and then export that to PDF. So maybe it's not out of the box now, but that might be an avenue worth exploring. Maybe Apex, plugin, maybe something with Node. But yeah, that might be interesting to explore some, I think.
I think you have your first plug-in challenge there, Dan.
I think one of the themes we'll probably be reiterating several times over is that what we really need is the help and participation of the community, because we're only a couple of folks here, so I'll just redirect that challenge to the community, and of course offer my support along those lines.
You also wanted to ask for somebody else or something else when we did the rehearsal. Then I quite didn't get it the first time, but
yeah. So I learned my lesson from that, right? We'll just sum it up here by saying there's lots of ideas. Joel just gave us a new one, but there's lots of ideas that are out there that could use some investigation and often require certain levels of knowledge, knowledge of Apex, but also knowledge of JavaScript and hopefully some Node, and how all those can be used together. And so if there's anyone out there with those skills and a little bit of free time, of course, which is maybe the biggest challenge of all, let us know if you're interested in being more involved, and we can loop you in on some of the things we're looking to explore, and you can just choose what is most interesting and relevant to you and see where it goes from there.
And it's always working with Dan. Let me tell you that, right? Right, Martin?
Sure.
Yeah.
I've got to work with Dan on a couple projects, but Dan's right. Like, there's a lot of need out there in the open source community. A lot of people have these great ideas, but we also need people to actually implement and test them. So for sure, reach out. You don't have to do the whole thing. There's always these different sections that everyone can. If everyone pitches in on one little area, it can turn something small into something big.
Yeah, we have a question from Doc Gold. He's asking, where are the section for the books? Actually, we have a link section in apex.world where there are a lot of links, and we link to the book sections in the apex.oracle.com/community webpage. And I guess, Joe, there you only show books hosted by Amazon. Is this right?
No, I mean, that should be a place for all books. It isn't restricted to those that are featured on Amazon.
I guess Scott Wesley asked me, and he said, oh, he wasn't listed there because it's only for Amazon listed books, but this is still an open issue, Doc.
Where do people come up with this stuff? That's not a true statement at all. If we will list any Apex book from anybody on any platform at any time.
Okay, thanks. Great answer. One more thing.
I've heard good things about that book, by the way. If there are folks listening that are interested in learning more about JavaScript, I hear that's a fantastic book to do so. It's I don't remember the exact title, but it's jQuery and Apex, something along these lines, right?
Yeah, from jQuery and Apex.
Yeah,
yep.
Definitely check that book out if you're looking to get started.
Yeah. Chat offer more than just charting. Is there any plan for offering more than just charts? From Tyson Chocolate. Is Apex planning to offer anything more from chat than just charts?
Can I take this question?
Yes.
I think you're the only one that can.
Okay. Well, let's be clear, right? When we say just charts, for years the AnyChart charts that we've bundled with Apex, it has been a intentionally finite domain of charts, somewhat limited, not the full complement of AnyChart charts. But when you look at the JET charts, we intend to support declaratively the full breadth of all charts that are provided by JET out of the box. That alone is a significant increase from the data visualization we have today in APEX. However, if the question is, are we going to support all these other JET components in APEX itself, right now there are no plans for that.
Okay, thank you. Kai Donato, I think he answered to Dan and he tells us this is exactly what's on my list. Maybe he wants to get in contact with you, Dan. I hope this was the answer of your question. Another one from Doug. Why not try to find a way to include Node as a part of the distribution of APEX and or DS?
Can I take that one? And there's also a similar question from Andre Souza about Node.js and APEX coming together. The answer is it's already there. You just need to do some of the work up front. Oracle has a Node.js driver right now that you can connect in. Maybe it's not as explicit as people would hope for. However, you can still use them. I've been using them on some of the applications I've done. Sometimes I'll pre-process things in Node and then pass it off to Oracle and then APEX. It really just depends on how you want to set it up. You can even put in on your web server, you can put in a Node.js WebSocket layer. And I don't want to go too technical, but you can use that and then have WebSockets integrated directly within APEX. So it does take some advanced work on it. It's not declaratively in there. I don't know if that's something Joel's looking into, but it is possible.
We're talking about integrating Node with APEX?
Yeah.
So that's probably a good time to bring up Node for ORDs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we can, bring it up in a browser or something along those lines, but Node for ORDs is a project that Martin started and put in his or open source repo or account in GitHub. And I should say it's being used right now on apex.world. So when you go to apex.world, you're going through a Node-based listener in the front end, and then being proxied through to ORDs, which does what ORDs/the APEX listener has always done. It handles the communication with the database. So as Martin said, it's there, and it could use some love, really. There's lots of things it could use. There's a laundry list, and so if you're interested in making that project better, let us know.
And they're all documented on the issues page. Just Google Node with the number 4 and then ORDS. You'll find it pretty quick. On that note, I'm just going to pivot slightly because this is a common thing that a lot of people don't believe me with. And since we have Dan online now, we can say this. But I've talked to people about Oracle XE, and that's the no-cost option database. I don't think I should say free, but you can use it do whatever you want with it, essentially. And when I talk to people, the first thing they say, and these are small people just trying to spin up an idea or small business, etc., and it's really their gateway into Oracle. A lot of people are like, oh, you can't run production on there. You can't do any of that. And yet these are the people who turn around at the same time to me and just say, oh, I love apex.world. It's a great site. It's got all these cool features. And Dan, can you talk about what apex.world is actually running behind the scenes?
Yeah, so it's running XE, obviously, and just running on some basic compute in the cloud. So there are some technical challenges, to running any database, and so I can understand why some folks may shy away from that. And of course, then there's always the normal backup and recovery type operations, which are terrifying. So I think cloud is maybe the way to go for these folks. I would probably point folks over to that direction once you get into the cloud. I think it just simplifies all those things.
Yeah, but we only set it up.
Sorry.
Joel?
Just I wanted to clarify Martin's point because he's very nervous about using the word free, but Express Edition is explicitly stated as free to develop, free to distribute, free to deploy. that's a case where you can use the word free.
Okay.
Free. I think one reason why we set up this environment for apex.world is that we don't know where it develops, and Dan is capable to solve all the technical problems, and we want to have all possibilities. But for now, it would be totally fine. We could also host it on apexoracle.com, right? Do we have anything special where we can't have apex.world on the cloud?
Nope.
See? It's just for fun.
Dan, it might affect some of the tie-ins you have with Node for orgs, though. I don't know if the cloud supports custom Node front ends.
Well, we did start this prior to Oracle, and I don't want to make this into an Oracle commercial or anything, you know.
Yeah.
But we didn't, when we started the project, have a Node service in Oracle Cloud. We do now, and it's worth looking into, sure.
Question from Mari Amari. How about the RTL support? Is it published on 5.1? Is it supported by the Oracle Apex team? I don't know if I get the question right. RTL.
Yeah, no, I understand. I know, Mari, and it's a great question. And there is declarative RTL support in Apex 5.1, and sometime in 2016 we will be hosting the early adopter hosted version of Apex 5.1, so anybody on the planet can come along and sign up and kick the tires. And I expressly want Madi and his team to vet the RTL support in Apex 5.1. So before it goes production, you'll have a chance to kick the tires yourself online. If we've failed or if we've done well, we welcome anybody's feedback on this topic.
Thanks. Tony Miller is asking, the Apex 5.1 grid control, does it support the usage of all native Apex form controls, namely usage of an autocomplete text box? Does the grid use autocomplete text boxes?
Don't know. Good question. I know that there are some native types. Dan, you know?
From what Mark was saying in our last Apex meetup here in NYC, is that the chart, and we're talking about the interactive grid, is that correct?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So interactive grid will use the native engine, and thus anything you use in Apex as a normal item type will exist in the interactive grid.
Now, will that include item plugins as well, or just native Apex items? Or you don't know?
I wish Mark were here. I don't want to venture a guess.
Okay.
But I believe it will. I went ahead and ventured a guess.
Okay.
I also can remember a presentation from Patrick in Vienna, and he told us that all the native controls should work in the grid. This is how I remember it.
And Dan, you wonder why they block Slack at Oracle?
Question for Scott from Larry Linnemeyer. Any update on Apex Cert 5.0?
Sure. Working on it. It's obviously it's a side project. Trying to do that in between a day job has been a lot of fun, especially now that it's baseball season and spare time gets diverted to the baseball diamond a little bit. It's largely done for the most part. I mean, I could show a quick preview of it if people are interested in seeing it. It's really, I just need to go through and update the rules, right? I mean, Apex, it's actually a very interesting evolution to watch from 3 to 4 to 5. What was default insecure behavior in 3 and how that's gotten remedied and fixed and enhanced. So I expect Apex Cert 5 to only have, 80% of the rules that say 4.2 did, because a lot of stuff that we used to look for just by default doesn't present security threats anymore. So a lot of the product enhancements are making the job a little bit easier to do that. But just FYI, so I think we were going to talk about this a little bit later, but I'm happy to do it now. Just kind of go over what apex cert is and the direction we're taking it.
Thanks, Scott.
Seems as good a
Another
time as any.
question, I don't think I can pronounce this name right. I go by the last name Raouli, something like that. The question, guess what? Here we go again.
Hold on, just before you say this, I'm just going to say Joel called this that we're going to get one of these questions.
Yeah.
In this podcast, in this meeting.
He's just won $1,000.
Dan, do you want to handle this or what?
Well, what's the question?
Yeah, the question is the version control. Apex version control, something. Yeah.
One thing we are working on is a white paper to document best practices with version control and management of source artifacts and propagation between environments. So people are looking for direct version control with Apex, and I get my little boundary and I check in and check out, and that's not going to be there. But what we are working on is a white paper to help share and communicate best practices to work with Apex and version control systems, and how customers are effectively managing and using this today.
If I can add on, it's not going to solve Jay's question. It may help though. We've created a product called it's on Aura open source called Apex Diff. So just Google Aura open source and then Apex and then DIFF. And what it does is it will actually auto-extract all the information from the Apex dictionaries and convert it into a JSON file. And what you do is you can run that with each of your backups and then compare the two JSON files. I've used it on some projects and we're still hit and miss on it. On a lot of changes, there's just so many diffs. But if you have a production application, you're doing small minor diffs, it works really well. It won't retrofit back, but at least it shows you what's changed. Again, it doesn't solve all the problems, but gets you partway there. And I know there's some other diff programs out there. I just don't remember their URLs.
Yeah, every customer I go and talk to, they do version control on a range of ways, from none, what do you mean version control? We just develop in prod, to, very structured, very automated, complete developer, continuous integration type things. So I think it's a tough task for the Apex team to say, we're going to pick a version control platform and integrate with it, because you're going to alienate probably 50%, 60% of the people, almost no matter which way you go. So a white paper that discusses how to do things to set up, best practices, using a tool like Martin's tool. I took a crack at this a while back. I probably need to open source the project because maybe someone else will help out with it. But I built an Apex-based diff utility that compared two Apex apps, and really the problem was performance. If you had two big apps and you tried to compare the two of them, it just took a long time to read all that stuff in and then start comparing it back and forth. And then you run into the issues where I have a region called new, and then I have a region called new on the other app. Well, if I delete one and then recreate a new region called new, is that technically the same? Because the IDs are different, but the name is the same. How do you treat all those one-offs? And really, I think I was a victim of my own, hey, this should work for any possible scenario ever, rather than drawing a box around it and saying, it's going to solve these 5 things, and if it doesn't fit in this box, we're not going to address it right now. So it's a good thing. Maybe I'll throw it out to the open source site, and reinvigorate that in all the free time that I have in between baseball and softball and cert and I guess day job too.
You don't have to watch all these basketball games, do you?
Dude, I'm going to probably watch one game. I mean, we're not that good. So it'll be a great...
I want to get back to Martin's question, but Hillary confirmed that plugin support in Interactive Grid is there in 5.1.
Oh,
will
right.
be. Thanks, Hillary.
Where I'm personally interested, all this social control discussion going on, I'm doing now Apex projects for more than 10 years, exclusively. I never had an issue with this, never. We just export the application, put it in SVN before we go through production. We don't even split it into single pages, which we could easily. because we're just too lazy. It's pretty easy to get this out of the repository, install it again, and if I just want to have one side, I export this one side. But in all my 10 years and numerous projects, I never encountered a problem where I said, okay, now I have an old version and I have to see what's changed from the old version. I don't know. I never had this problem, and I'm totally fine with exporting it, put it in SVN before we go to production, and this is it. So, what your guys' experience there?
I've got a client that demonstrates that problem quite frequently, and it's more just really sophisticated business rules, right? So if A equals 1 and B equals 2, hide this item. 2 weeks later, if A equals 1, B equals 1 or 2, hide a different item. 3 weeks later, if A equals 2 and there is no B, so I have found myself deliberately, creating items and setting them to hidden always, right? So just kind of hiding them on the page, using notes and comments, which, was okay, but it would have been nice to be able to go back and say, all right, how did this look 2, 3, 4 iterations ago without having to pull the whole app out, install it, and then, do the comparison. But I agree, I've been doing this, 15 years or so, and it's rare that I've had to use the version control. I find it just as easy, and again, it's because I've been using it for so long, open up both files in a text editor comparison tool, and that'll show me enough that I know what to ignore and what to focus in on. But I understand how that's not always optimal, and if you're not sure what you're looking at, you can get really tripped up on IDs being different and things like that.
And I think folks that are just used to working with traditional file-based application development, they're used to a certain flow, and when they come over to Apex, they sort of expect things to work the same, and of course it's just architecturally very different. Each platform and framework offers advantages and disadvantages, and it's just, yeah, you tend to work a little bit differently, and I think most folks probably draw the line at what Juergen was describing, just, export the app, check it into source control, and you're done.
Yeah. And I never pulled it out the last 10 years.
But I think it could become a bigger issue in terms of scalability. You have a team of 20 or more developers working on a single application. It's like, stepping on each other's toes and merging changes and this kind of stuff. I do see a valid issue there. So I don't want to just dismiss it as though it's not, but I would say that may not be the target customer for Apex. When you have these really large teams working on the same application at the same time, it may not be the best tool for you to choose in that particular case. And so yeah, but I think for what Apex does and how well it does it, I think most folks, as you've done, as you say, for the last 10 years, can get away with just simple exports and check it in.
But we have a large team working on an Apex application for years now. Right, Joe? And it's working. Somehow you make it.
We do a good job of partitioning what people are working on and organizing that.
But I also
it can't be just a free-for-all, right?
I see the version control integration as two things. One, useful utility for people to manage their apps. But two, a check mark feature, a sign of product maturity, where when a CIO starts looking at this, or an upper-level IT manager looks at Apex who isn't familiar with it, well, how does it fit in the version control? And then the answer is, well, it doesn't. That could throw some uncertainty towards that CIO, even if it does support it and you don't use it, right? It's just one of those, like, I'm going to ask 5 questions of every development tool, and if I get a no on any one of the 5 questions, we don't use it. We won't necessarily adhere to the 5 questions once we begin a development. It just seems to me to be one of those things that you can say, oh yeah, Apex is fully integrated with version control, and just don't use it, but still solve a lot of problems potentially politically, not technically down the line.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get in a brutal defense of this because it comes up a lot, and I know it's an issue for people, but let's not mistake the fact that the ideal Apex application is very thin and very lightweight, and all it does is it calls PL SQL compiled in the database. And the PL SQL artifacts can be merged, branched, do whatever you want, right? So the perfect Apex application from a scalability standpoint and management standpoint is it's just a thin layer over everything else.
Right. Good point. Question from Shravan Kumar. Similar to the beautiful done packaged apps, I feel it's a good idea to start building an ecosystem of apps, marketplace, that integrate with emerging technologies, IoT, REST interfaces, etc. So, is there an enhancement plan for like packaged app, I don't know, marketplace for complete applications? Joe, I think this one.
A long-term direction that my boss, Mike Hitchwell, which he's pursuing and what he wants to realize, is for both Oracle and customers alike to be able to develop and offer their applications on the Oracle Cloud Marketplace, which is, it's live there today, and the long-term goal is for anybody on this call or anybody to be able to build some nifty application, to be able to host it there and let anyone who uses these database cloud services that support Apex to be able to license it and install it. That's the long-term plan. And we're making, it's more than just on paper, we are making concrete steps towards that goal.
Okay, thanks. From Rowley again, in the future versions of Apex, any plan that we can connect to a different database server from Apex environment, just like we do with in SQL Developer by creating new connections? So I guess the question is, can Apex run against other databases planned in the future? Sorry,
so again, you can tell I'm only an implementer. I'm not the creative genius like my boss Mike Hitchell is, but his goal for us ultimately is to be able to support many of these components that we have today, which use SQL, and to be able to let those seamlessly use REST. So to some degree, Apex would become almost like your middleware, right? Just happens to have an Oracle database underneath it to run and manage session state. But to be able to let people do interactive grids or charts very seamlessly, and the data source being REST, and REST is the future for data, exposing data from any data source, whether it be Oracle or anything else. That's the goal. Won't be there in 5.1, but we're hope to realize it in the future.
I guess I have an answer from Patrick here. Yes, I have. All custom item type plugins with a little modification. So this is, I guess, the answer for the grid. Thanks, Patrick.
Actually, since we're talking about Patrick, I'm going to turn the conversation a bit. I know I was hoping to say this at the end, but there's a new, well, not new, but we're kind of relaunching it, called the site for the Apex Challenge, which is a weekly quiz. Now, don't be confused with the name. It's currently on plsqlchallenge.oracle.com. However, there is a weekly Apex version. Now, the reason why Patrick is relevant to this is he is now Patrick Wolf, yes. He is the baseline standard of what is correct. He is batting 100 or 1,000 right now, and sometimes as quiz writers, we're wrong because Patrick's right. Because sometimes we put in some questions and Patrick's corrected us. So he is the guy to beat. If you want to test your challenge, highly recommend. Again, it's plsqlchallenge.oracle.com, and there's just an Apex quiz. So take it and try and beat Patrick.
Hey, I think you should rename it so you think you're smarter than Patrick Wolf.
I don't think you'd get the level of participation if that was the name.
Maybe we should offer prizes to anyone who beats Patrick Wolf on a weekly quiz. That could be the standard.
From Andre Souza, will you guys open the source code for Apex World? No. That's my decision. Dan's laughing because we had this discussion. We have the Rex guys, Nathan Catlow and Tim Oswick helped us to make it secure. So what else can you do? It's the best resources you can get to make an application secure, but I still don't want to give the source code away because of security issues. I don't know, Scott. What do you think? We for sure. He's also asking. We plan to present solutions like Adrian can show the integration with Slack, something like that on a conference. So certain topics or the enhanced the session handling, then I guess you did that. Some special things out there, but the whole source code, I don't feel comfortable with that. Scott, what do you say as a security expert?
Yeah, I mean, it's yours to decide what to do with it. I don't know if you saw I put in the show notes, it'd be interesting to do a session where you kind of do behind the scenes and talk about the stuff you feel comfortable with, right? So for instance, the Slack integration.
Yeah, exactly.
The GitHub integration, things that other people can see and turn around and use. But you're right. I mean, if you take a whole app and send it off and make it open source, my guess is it's pretty secure. If the Rex guys did some evaluations of it, they probably found all the common and not so common vulnerabilities. But you don't want to give away the playbook to somebody, if you think that in that playbook there's a vector someone can use and exploit the site. Not that anyone would want to do that, but you never know. I mean,
you never know. We had our pong a couple of weeks ago. It was not that funny.
Yeah, well, right, and that's not even a security breach, right? That's just
exactly. I don't want to have something like that again.
I mean, my opinion, sorry for weighing in here. I was all prepared to talk about how great and open and sharing the community is, and then we say we're not going to share.
Juergen ruined it.
A little bit funny, right?
Well, we've got 5 minutes left, and I know there's Dan. You wanted to say something. Joel, I think you wanted to also cover something as well. So maybe we'll stop the questions now and let you guys wrap things up.
Sure. So I don't know if one of the organizers could put this link up here to www.oracleapextour.com. Esto es para la gente que habla en español. It's for South and Central America. This tour, it looks like it's going to launch in 2011. Oh, it's being turned over to me.
You're asking for it.
Yeah, so can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Well, here's the URL. And
can you magnify it?
Yeah, I can't really see how to just. Oh, here we go.
I put it down in the chat window for everyone to see.
Yeah,
so everyone attending should be able
you can
to
see the various countries that it'll be going through, and this will be in November this year. And you'll also see a note here. They're rebranding from Apex specific to Oracle Developer more generically, which I think is good and exciting because they'll be able to cover more topics like SQL and PL SQL, which are of course very relevant in Apex, and other new and emerging things like the Node.js driver and stuff like that. So if you're in any of these countries or nearby, definitely check this site out.
Thanks, Dan. Joe, any last words for the first show?
Oh yeah, I'll be. Sorry, Melissa, can you give me presenter control here? I promise to do this in 60 seconds or less.
You got 2 minutes.
I have 2 minutes? Okay. I'll be cool.
While Joel's switching a screen, maybe I'll just...
I'll set up. I'll set up.
You go. Okay.
All right, cool. So 60 seconds or less. I was not at the Apex World Conference. Other teammates were. I am just completely enamored with the growing and passionate Apex community. I think a perfect case in point is our buddies, and I'm going to not screw this up, Przemek Stanishevsky and Aliash Mali from Predeus and Abacus, Predeus in Poland and Abacus in Slovenia. got together and collaborated in part on these translation facilities that they made available for Apex. So our buddies from Pretius, they launched the site Translate Apex, and they garnered support from all these people around the world to help produce translations for Apex, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Alias separately introduced Apex text messages on Aura open source. If you want to take translations from one application to another and version them and the like, which I just think is a complete example of the Apex community stepping up independently. Okay, I'm done.
It's cool. You don't have to finish exactly 60 minutes. We started also a little.
Okay. Now, was that 2 minutes?
That was 1 minute. I thought you said 60
It's only
seconds.
1 minute, yeah.
Okay, hold on a second. I guess I got another minute here. So my boss is keeping track of all the usage of Apex inside the company, and we're going to make this native functionality in Apex 5.1 so people could see, okay, what's going on in their farm of Apex applications in the enterprise. And then as well, I'm very delighted about the growing community, Application Express, here as the United Arab Emirates APEX Meetup, and also people started an APEX Meetup in Colombia, which I think is fantastic. Today or tomorrow is the last early bird registration for Apex Connect in Berlin, and the 25th of March, last early registration for Kscope. I'm done. Thanks.
Great.
Thanks, Joel.
Scott, anything from you?
Not that's going to fit in a minute, no. No, this is good. This has been...
time you.
I know, yeah. This is a good first cut. I'm excited at a lot of potential that we have here, and you know, crafting this into something, like I said, that people want to come back for. I could see us doing, you know, at conferences, special events where perhaps, you know, we work with, you know, get on an actual panel and be there live and broadcast about when Apex was released and do a special EA1 Apex 5.1 edition sometime in 2016 when that gets released too. So yeah, I like that we didn't call it monthly because I don't think we want to be restricted.
Yeah.
You kind of alluded, Juergen, that we might do it every 6 or 8 weeks. I'm hoping we might be able to even do it, you know, in some months, you know, maybe every 3 or 4 weeks, you know, even a little bit more frequently.
Exactly. Thanks. Dan,
Oh, no.
you happy? You happy?
Just
Great.
that little plug. Just wanted to make sure to mention it for the Apex Tour.
And Martin?
You're on
Oh,
mute.
You're muted.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one. I think the fact that we can't answer all the questions are great. We'll have to take them up on the next Apex on air. I will answer one short question right now in my 1 minute closing. Someone asked about editing JavaScript and CSS files in Apex 5.1 right from the static files area. My answer is I don't know because I'm not on the Apex team. However, stay tuned to the ODTUG webinar list. So if you're on the ODTUG email list, you'll get this, and watch out on Twitter. There's going to be something that comes out that you won't need to even worry about that. It's going to blow your mind. Something Vince Homono has been working on, and it's phenomenal. So that's all I can say is keep an eye out for something because it's going to solve your problem.
Great, thanks. One thing I have in my mind, we are still looking, I mean, some guys know already that we have a podcast out, but the last episode was, I don't know, long before apex.world came out, and we were completely busy with apex.world, and we still are. We would love to go on with the podcast episodes, but we are looking for somebody who can help us out in editing, because the editing consumes most of the time. You don't have to be a specialist. I could do it myself for the last 6, 7 episodes, so it's not that complicated, but if you want to contribute, and I guess ODTUG is even sponsoring it now. Can I say that, Martin?
Yeah, they've tagged on to be an official sponsor.
So please let us know if you want to contribute, and the same goes for the presentation resources. And other than that, thanks for being here, and let us know what you think and what you want to have us talking about here. Thank you.